Hello and welcome back to another episode of Moonee Valley Voices, the new Moonee Valley podcast where we're talking to local business owners and personalities to find out what makes them tick and what they love about doing business, living and playing in the Moonee Valley. Today I'm joined by John Cachia, and he's the founder and CEO of Thriving Wealth, an innovative financial advice business doing business right here in the Moonee Valley. So welcome, John. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you're freshly minted off a nice Europe trip. You've gone back to the motherland, to Malta. Yeah. Obviously, something we share in common is some Maltese heritage. Tell us a little bit about that and how the trip went.
Yeah, trip was really good. First, probably week and a half was a little bit of adjustment. I actually had a conference over there, so did a bit of work and then started to wind down. Brought over my 3 children, and one of them happened to be a 4-month-old. So that was a little bit of a different kind of holiday to adjust to, but he was absolutely amazing, actually. The flight, he was good. He slept well. So really good holiday. Went to Malta. Always love going back. It's really relaxing in the middle of the Mediterranean. First thing I tend to do is just jump straight into the Med and just like relax there. And then after that, ended up going to Cyprus, which we've never been before. Nice. A lot of similarities actually a little bit between Malta and Cyprus, but a very amazing place, Cyprus, and definitely something that I recommend, or a place that I recommend people to go back to. So can't wait to get back there.
Yeah, awesome. And we were sort of talking off camera before that the Europe trips become something of a bit of a regular thing for you and the fam?
Yeah, definitely. So my wife is Turkish and I'm Maltese heritage. And one of the biggest things we wanted to do for our family was to keep that connection. And we found that no better way to keep that connection than actually get back to those places. And my wife, more than me, has a lot of family still in Turkey. So going back there, seeing where her family's come from and still having that close connection with her cousins are really, really good. But also in Malta as well too. And I'm a bit of a history nerd. So getting over there and just immersing myself in the history. And this year went over to Turkey and went to where it was presumed that Mary, the Mother of God, ascended to heaven. And so I went to the Ephesus and there's a house of Mary over there. So went with my 2 eldest boys, which was absolutely beautiful to go see. And so, I can kind of immerse myself in my history element and get over there and enjoy some sun. The tan's going away rapidly. So
you're back in Melbourne. So,
I was on bookings.com going, when are we going again? So we'll see.
No, very good. And bringing it back to a more local field, tell us a little bit about your connection to Moonee Valley. Where'd you go to school, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Moonee Valley. So my parents, I was born in East Keilor. I bought a house about 2 streets up from mum and dad. So I live in East Keilor. I've lived in there my whole life. Went to St. Peter's Primary School in East Keilor and then ended up going to St. Bernard's. And so went to Bernard's, played local footy at the East Keilor Footy Club when I was younger, and then had a little bit of a stint at St. Bernard's, but I felt more at home at East Keilor Footy Club. And then have had this business in Moonee Valley on Keilor Road since 2009. So been very involved in Keilor Road and the Nidri area, and then obviously the wider Moonee Valley community through like school and friendship groups and all that stuff. And
Nidri is a part of the Moonee Valley that's changed quite a lot over the years, Keilor Road in particular. How have you sort of seen that transformation over the years?
Yeah, I think it's kind of two-fold. Like similar to kind of Malta, you don't want it to change, but it does change with the times. In Nidri, it obviously had all of those car dealerships, and it was kind of a bit more like the old Footscray feel. And I feel like it's kind of coming and following the Footscray feel of, starting to become a bit more modern, a bit more restaurants and choices. And for me, I embrace it. I think we can use Keilor Road especially to be a hub, and we have now seen that happen where friendship groups, we're meeting on Keilor Road, we're not going into the city. And that means that, kind of economically speaking, we can give back to the community, and then we continue to develop that. And I'm sure the local people, yes, they don't like the car parking, which I'm sure is an issue there, and that needs to kind of be resolved. But I think there's more wins than losses in regards to the redevelopment of Keilor Road.
Yeah. You're deeply committed to helping the local community. Can you tell us a little bit about some of maybe the financial literacy programs you've run and maybe some charity work that you've done in the community?
Yeah, definitely. So we run regularly online masterclasses for people who want to kind of jump on and learn about finances, and they're all of different topical areas. And actually, the last one that I did was for kids. So one of the biggest common things we get, mate, is I wish you could teach my kids this, and we were so much relying on the school system to be able to teach financial literacy. And we're not just talking about 1+2s and counting coins. We're talking about preparing these children for entering the workforce and managing credit cards and budgets and what tax returns are and all this stuff. So we actually started to really go into the grassroots this year and work on the younger cohort, like the 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids, like the preps. Yeah, and people were astonished in regards to how much they learn. And the reality is that, I've taken a passion of this. I've been doing this since I was 14 and 9 months, and that's a whole nother story. But, it's around how can we integrate financial literacy from a young age to go with them their whole life. Like, we can't expect a 16-year-old to kind of learn absolutely everything to be prepared for an 18-year-old. So can we just gamify in a 5 to 7-year-old, and we did that. We did that through workbooks and through games, and that was really well received. And we've also got, many different things that we do in regards to, if it be investing, if it be, retirement savings, if it be tax effective planning. There's all different avenues in regards to the workshops we do. We do regularly do them, and you can see them on our website, especially if you get onto our newsletter list. They're kind of communicated across.
Awesome.
But also as well too, just using platforms like social media and our podcast, which is the Cash Talk podcast, which we do a new episode every week. Just kind of spreading the word about what it really kind of takes to be financially secure, and then build from that financial security to be financially independent.
So at that real grassroots level that you've mentioned, what are the sort of things that kids are learning at that super young age?
Yeah, so it's simply just around terms and what things mean. Yeah, so if you think about it, if you talk about, I don't know, the word budget.
Yeah.
Like, if you can put that into a basic concept so that they just understand what a budget is.
Yeah.
And so my eldest boy, he's 7 turning 8, and he was kind of my first guinea pig on doing this.
Yeah.
And at the age of 3, I started to introduce a game which identifies the difference between assets and liabilities. Right. So at the age of kind of, I would say about 3.5, my eldest boy could tell the difference between an asset and a liability.
Yeah, right.
Now, that's most people don't know that even into their later life. They think that, liabilities are assets and assets are liabilities, and then they make choices on them in regards to their money, in regards to buying liabilities where they should be buying assets.
Yeah.
Now, if a 3.5-year-old can do it, a 5, 6, 7-year-old can do it. So it's more about understanding terms and then how they kind of work, and then building up along that.
Yeah.
And so we'll do things like crosswords and fill the gaps, and connect the dots, and everything that you would expect to a grade 1 or grade 2 to do, and just kind of applying that in a money sense.
Yeah.
Then from that, it's around understanding concepts. And the longer you have ramp up time, so if you've got 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, well, if you've got 10 years, it's just a slow burn. So like my son's 7, 8 years old, and he's understanding about credit risk analysis. And so just so people know, credit risk analysis is a university degree. He's understanding that, like, if I go, mate, can I borrow your phone for a sec? And you're like, yeah, cool, but you've got to pay me interest in regards to, well, he's working out how much interest he should actually take on that phone to make it hard enough for me to want to pay that back.
Yeah, right.
And so, and my son's normal. He's not like he's not Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
But even for my middle child, my youngest one, obviously too young, but understanding concepts and stuff like that. So we really feel that that's something that we want to do, not just for the local community, but for the wider community as well.
Yeah.
And then you talked about, just going back one step, you talked about charity work as well too. So actively participating in charities in all different areas. But a big one that we are focusing on is financial literacy. And actually, later this year, I'll actually be on Channel 7 Plus.
Okay.
I raised, with a group of some other advisors, we raised $60,000 for the Financial Basics Foundation, which promotes financial literacy for young children. So, obviously, I can help people in poverty, I can help people whatever, but I really like the aspect around not only financially supporting a charity, but how can I use my skills that I've learned to then help these kids and help these people kind of flourish in years to come. So,
and is that like, I guess the basic concept behind that is, we can all chip in and give a bit of money, but if you actually upskill people and and help them understand, how money works, how to make money work for them, that sort of thing, they can take maybe that little bit of help that they do eventually get and make it a more long-lasting thing rather than, in 6 months needing more assistance.
Correct. I think that in the financial side of things, you can give people money, you can give them whatever. That's not necessarily going to change their life.
Yeah.
And I've seen this over the last 20 years is if I can impart my skills and my knowledge into these people and help them to think about money better on a daily basis, they're going to set themselves up for compounding effects on the years to come. So, but, when it comes to the local community, I'm all ears. If there's a charity that's there and needs support, there's a lot of people that are less fortunate than a lot of us. And if we can be able to give back and support the community, I'm all for it.
And the workshops and this sort of financial literacy work you're doing, are they directly into schools? Is it something they can do online? You've mentioned your podcast as well. Tell us a little bit about how they can be accessed.
Yeah, so main one is to get onto our social media and to get onto our newsletter list. Like being able to kind of communicate that widely, as I think is the hardest thing. Yeah. So just being able to kind of jump on those, be available for it, and then we'll send out the communication, and then just jumping in on, and they're free. So they do take a little bit to prepare, as probably people understand, and we try and make them different all the time. Like we don't try and just keep them the same. Yeah. And so people can kind of follow us on those journey and learn those things. But I think the podcast is a really good platform in regards to the Cash Talk podcast, because that's an ability for people to kind of go back to episodes and see a particular topic that they like and kind of delve in on that, and then go to another topic and delve in on that. And the podcast is more around people wanting to learn more. So it's not targeted towards the kids. It's more targeted towards the adults, and they're wanting to learn more, become and living a more fulfilled life and using their money to be a vehicle to help them.
Awesome. And talking business now, you mentioned you started in financial planning as young as 14. That's, most people aren't thinking about financial planning at 14. Can you tell us what got you into that industry, that space at 14, and what were you sort of doing in the business? How did that sort of all happen?
Yeah, so very young, like early on, like the earliest memories I have, I always had an interest in business. And my father was in business, and then I kind of just was, I just wanted to be like Dad. Yeah. And so I always had a keen eye for it, and my cousin had a financial planning business based out of Yarraville. And 14 and 9 months, my mum goes, listen, you got to go get a job. Okay. And I thought, you know what, I'll get a normal job, which I did. I actually went to the reject shop on Puckle Street, and I actually worked there for a little bit. But then I went to my cousin's, did a bit of work experience in there, and fell in love with financial planning. Yeah. I realised that if this is done right, you can impactfully change people's lives. And I felt like a little bit of a superpower that you could kind of help people on their journey. So I'd go to high school, went to St. Bernard's. After Bernard's, I'd kind of finish up whatever it was, 3:30. My mum would come pick me up, take me to work, and then I'd kind of do the night shift there, and then next day. And it was pretty insane thinking, but just full of energy, full of beans. Yeah. I also had a stint at Frank's Seafood back in the day. I worked on the pans as well too, so that was cool. So I do know how to make my way through a kitchen. Yeah. But yeah, just ended up falling in love with it. And then at the age of 20, I said, like, I need to be in control of my own destiny. And I won't kind of go through the whole long story, but then at the age of 20, kind of said, you know what, stuff it, I'll start my own. So and we are where we are today. Yeah, awesome. So Thriving Wealth started in, I think you said 2009 on Keilor Road. Yeah. What was that, again, like just talk us through, I guess, the mindset or, what were you feeling like when you thought, I have to start my own thing and, you mentioned you want to control your own destiny. I think a lot of business owners can appreciate that, but not everyone comes to that realization at 20 years old. It might come later in life. So what sort of got you to that point as early as 20, do you think? Probably my father drip feeding it to me from when I was even younger. That probably helped. But the reality of it is that I had kind of two choices. I was either going to kind of keep learning from my cousin and the way that he'd done things, and he's done things really well. He's very successful in what he does. Or what can I do to pave things out? And I remember my father saying to me, like, John, your grandmother once told me, so my grandmother once told him, you're born naked, you die naked, everything in between is fun and games. Yeah. And I'm like, that really resonates with me. Like, I've just got to give it a crack. Yeah. And like, whatever happens. And like, I remember my old man saying to me, like, if your business fails, it'll be the best learning experience you can. Before you have a wife, kids, this, that, just go hard and do it. And it was the best decision I ever made. Like, is in regard one of the best decisions I ever made. It was probably best in business, was just to give it a crack. And you know what? I look back on the first few years of business, and they were horrible. What was I thinking? The decisions I was making, the blah blah blah. But you know what? Time became my best friend, not my worst enemy.
Yeah.
And so I had time to learn the mistakes, time to learn things, perfect it, become better and better and better and better. And so, you know, that real kind of starting off, and I know there's probably a lot of people that are listening to this starting off or thinking about starting off their businesses. You know, I just never wanted to think, what if? Yeah, what if you know, my mum said to me, my dad was an entrepreneur. My mum was like, go work for a bank. And I couldn't think of anything worse. You know, dictated 9 to 5. And I don't know what, maybe it's just me, but I just, that whole regimented program, that just wasn't me. And so when I say in control of my own destiny, I wanted to control my own diary. I wanted to control my own life. I quickly realized that wasn't the case. In business. And I don't want to sugarcoat it. Like when you're in business, you know, you're no longer dictated by your boss, you're dictated by your clients.
5 bosses, 10 bosses.
10 bosses, 20 bosses, hundreds of bosses. And then, you know, there's a whole next phase about developing the business. But yeah, that's back then. And that's the kind of reason why I got into it, and that's how it all started. So
started on Keilor Road. Are you still in the same place in Keilor Road, or you've moved around a bit, or is it more virtual offices now? And
so same block. So level 2 on Keilor Road in there. So there's serviced offices in there. And what's interesting is that I think I'm the longest tenant that's been in service offices, because this whole kind of hybrid workspace kind of thing. It was also what I wanted. So, you know, we've jumped around in the kind of the serviced offices, but still in the same area.
Awesome. And what was, you know, once you got into this financial advice space, we've spoken a little bit about, even before we started recording, I guess, how you wanted to differentiate what Thriving Wealth does versus, I guess, maybe a more stock standard sort of financial advice company or advisor. Talk us through, I guess, how the service has evolved from what it started as and sort of what it is today.
So traditional financial planning, even in 2024, is about getting a person in, understanding their goals and aspirations, building a plan, and then putting them into financial solutions to then hopefully achieve their goals. And we were doing that, you know, reviewing people's super, insurances, investments from about 2009 to about kind of 2018. That process, getting better over time, but still doing that. Went over to Stanford in California in 2018, and I was sitting, I'd never forget, top floor in the Salesforce business. Just so you guys know, Salesforce is the biggest CRM in the world. Anyway, sitting there, and a guy who, for all intents and purposes, was a futurist for Salesforce. And he put up on the whiteboard, and he's like, these are all the jobs that are going to be obsolete by 2030. And financial planner was on there. And there's a room full of financial planners, and financial planners is on there. Mortgage brokers, lawyers, all of this. And I'm like, but essentially what he was saying was that in their traditional form, the way they are, they're going to be made obsolete. And so what I needed to understand was, how do I make my business not obsolete? And what I needed to do was understand that if we're going to take this to a whole nother level, we need to start changing people's behaviors. We need to start working on the emotional side of people who are irrational in their decision making, and start to help them to break through those invisible ceilings. So when I came back, I started to go, okay, well, these goals that people want to make, first and foremost, are they their actual goals, or are they just surface level goals? We need to get to the emotional level goals. And how are we going to do that? So I had to work with neuroscientists and psychologists to really get into what makes our clients fulfilled. And then build not only a plan and the financial solutions, but then build in kind of behavioral coaching to help our people to break through. Now, it doesn't mean that our clients are going to become the squillionaires that they may have thought that they wanted to see when they see us. But a lot of our clients, 10, 15 years down the track, they're more fulfilled than ever. And so we tell people that now we've built a business that not only helps people to become financially free, but helps them to live the most fulfilled life that they can. And that was the difference.
So if we think about, like, you know, generally speaking, like a surface level goal might be, I want X amount in the bank by year 10, right? So
And
you're trying to
I ask the
understand.
question, why?
Yeah, why? Okay, what does that X in the bank do for you? Or
Yeah,
what do you
does that
think it's
mean?
going to do for you? Right.
Oh, listen, I want to be making sure that I can take off a month of a year.
Yeah.
Why is that important for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get to the surface level, and the surface level is because I grew up never having a holiday.
Yeah.
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 And I don't want to see what happened with my parents where I could never enjoy a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's write that one down because that means something to you.
Yeah.
Because then if you create a plan to something that really makes someone fulfilled, they stick to it.
Yeah.
And then when they get to the destination, they're not looking at it and going, oh, I didn't like this place.
Yeah.
They love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're really getting, but then also how do you then keep someone committed? Because a goal can sometimes be 15 years down the track.
Yeah.
It's like if I asked you and I said, oh, listen, I want a deposit for my house for my kids.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
If we just have the deposit for the kids and you don't know the reason why, and we constantly don't remind you about why it's important for your kid, you'll deviate.
Yeah.
And in 2024, there's more shiny objects that we need to kind of, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that.
Yeah.
As soon as you start to take out all of these shiny objects and actually just point people to actually really what they want in life, it's amazing what can happen. And recently we just celebrated our 15 years. We had a relaunch party because we used to be called AFA Group and we changed to Thriving Wealth. And we had it at Penny Young, so another local business.
Another local business, yeah.
And my wife came to the party and we had clients that have been with us for over a decade, and they were talking to her and they were just saying like, your husband, like what he's done for me and my family has been absolutely amazing. And she was getting emotional, like just hearing the conversations around how many hundreds of people who have changed their lives. Yeah. And like I said, it's not because they've got Bugattis and Lambos and it's not that. They're living a life that they never thought that was achievable, and they're living fulfilled every day, which how many people can actually say they're living a fulfilled life? Yeah.
If you think about some of those transformations or the journeys you've been on with clients, what are some of the biggest misconceptions you've seen from people at the start of their journey around perhaps what they think finance or money might do for them versus the actual outcome they're looking for? Like where do you think the biggest misalignment is between why people think money might be important and what they're actually seeking?
Number one, most people are chasing other people's goals. Yeah. 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 This person has this house, I want that house. Yeah. Okay, so that's number one. Two, most people overestimate what they can achieve. So they overestimate what they can achieve in 12 months. Yeah. But underestimate what they can achieve in 12 years. Yeah. Third, most people think it's easier than it actually is. Mm-hmm. Go have a look at the statistics around how many people are actually financially free in the world. Then boil it down to Australia. Then figure out probably how much it is in Moonee Valley. Yeah. And you'll quickly realise that the percentage of people that actually make it to financial freedom not on Centrelink is very small. Yeah. Like even if you look at the statistics around how many people have multiple investment properties, have a look at the percentage.
So what do you define as financial freedom? Like
financial freedom is when your house is completely paid off that you live in, and you have passive income that exceeds your lifestyle requirements. Right. Yeah. There's definitions that go, everyone, I've been doing this for 2 decades. That is the best definition you can have. I've got a house paid off. I don't owe anyone money. Yeah. And I wake up, I look at my CommBank account or whatever it is, and there's $10,000 a month coming into my account from my rental returns and my share dividends and my interest. Yeah. You are financially free. Yeah. You do not owe anyone anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's... So how many people can say that? Yeah. Not many. Yeah. Yeah. Especially in 2024, I would say the millennial generation especially. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's obviously people in their 60s and 70s that have done it quite well, but if you look about 30s, 40s, 50s, but also people in their 30s. Yeah. Brand new cars, brand new houses, deaded out the hill. Outside look like they're living an amazing life, behind closed doors, very stressed. Yeah. So you can have financial freedom, but then are you fulfilled? Yeah. And so then you can have a ton of money and actually be debt-free and have passive income that exceeds your lifestyle requirements, but then be miserable. So we say to people, we don't want to create rich little leprechauns sitting on a pile of gold miserable. Yeah. Yeah. We want them to be happy and fulfilled. Yeah. So then it's a matter of another misconception is how much money you actually need to be fulfilled. And what's actually interesting is that when you figure out how much you need to, like what your fulfilled life looks like, usually the amount of zeros that you need is much less than what you actually want. Yeah. So if I said to you, mate, and I said to you, actually, what makes you fulfilled, like from an actual life perspective, usually goes to, I just want more time with my kids.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be able to watch their first steps.
Yeah.
I want to be making sure I like soccer. I want to go on the weekend, not have to worry.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
And then you start to put numbers behind these things.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, you came into me with you wanting $50 million.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You probably only need 1.5.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's another misconception and a belief.
Yeah, right. Okay. And there's a lot of, like, if you watch the media and stuff, there's always this sort of, I sort of call it generational tension, you know? Mm. People in that millennial bracket feel like, you know, the boomers have made all their money in property. They've killed it with, you know, capital gains. You know, interest rates were higher when they were borrowing, but their loan amounts were less. Now it's lower, but we're borrowing a lot more money. Where do you sit on that sort of divide? Do you think it's, you know, it's probably not as black and white or as simple as saying it was easier then versus it's easier or harder now, but where do you sort of land when you see that sort of commentary on the internet and you see different generations sort of having an opinion about, you know, what one's doing well versus how lucky another one was, etc.? Where do you sort of come out on all that?
So it depends on where you're looking at it from. And so when you're looking at it property, which most people are so like focused on, of course it's the boomers that had it easy. They went from a loan where you used to have one applicant on the loan. You couldn't have two because they used to say, sorry, to the woman, you're going to have kids. We're not putting you on the application.
Sure.
Yeah. So as soon as they started to apply double incomes, well then gearing or lending becomes easier. Yeah. And then you've got interest rates going lower. Like even now where interest rates are, like statistically speaking, they're much lower. But when you got lower interest rates, it means that housing prices are going to continue to increase. Yeah. So if like we're in a current cycle where we've had interest rates going up and then they're maybe going to come down, maybe. When they come down, prices will go up. Yeah. It's like prices are sensitive to interest rates. Yeah. So when you look at like, let's say boomers that started to enter into the market inside the 1970s, and you have historicals and you look at the events like interest rates coming down over time, you look at double, mate, they just had this asset that you could have bought anywhere. Yeah. Anywhere. You could have closed your eyes and you would have seen what happened. Yeah. Try and do that now. Yeah. The thing is the entry point in regards to incomes now. Like, it's not like you can, do we add in a third income? Like, where does that extra income come from? So from a property perspective, it's much harder on the millennials than it is on the boomers. However, they didn't have the internet. No. They didn't have the technology we've got now. You try to market a business back in the 1970s versus how many you can market it now. Yeah.
Yellow pages.
This is what I'm talking about. Door knocking. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't like the argument to say like our parents had it easier. Yeah. That's just a cop out. Yeah. Like, it's an absolute cop-out. You are where you are right now, and you're in control of your own destiny. They had it easy in some ways, but we have it easier in some. Like, when we first started dating, I remember I had, like, Messenger at that point. Oh, man, what would you have to do? You have to go knock on a door, you know what I mean? Can I have your daughter? Like, what are we talking about here? And so I think when we talk about our kids, though, which is the next generation, buying investment assets is going to become harder. Because the difference between the wealthy and the poor, the gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we only need to look over to our cousins in the UK or in Canada or in the US and who are more mature countries. And the difference between the rich and the poor is great. And that happens over time. So if you're a parent listening to this, you could complain and moan and whine about how hard it is. But if you don't make a change... what's the compounding effect for your children? Your kids, Yeah. So the boomers who done really well and taught the techniques to their children, the millennials, they've done really well, the millennials. And when they inherit that transfer of wealth, which is about $4 trillion in Australia, that gap's going to get bigger. Yeah. Then those children of our generation, the alphas, I think they call them now, or the zoomers or whatever the hell they call it, when that next transition happens in 40, 50 years, that gap's going to be huge. Yeah. So choose your hard. Yeah. Nah, very interesting, very interesting.
We'll take it quickly back to Thriving Wealth as a practice. You've won multiple awards. Talk us through some of the successes you've had on that front as a business.
Very humbling to speak about awards because it's one of those things that, you know, it's nice to get them. but you don't go out to achieve them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like obviously in the industry, we're very well known in regards to what we do, and I think we were very much on the forefront of innovating financial advice. And still today, there's not a lot of people that do what we do, and I think the biggest thing is that we're very much known, especially probably kind of like the 35 to kind of 50 age group. Yeah, very much like the leaders in that front, helping people go through those complexities, be both of a business owner and families, in regards to some of the complexities that they've got.
Sure.
And so when you're in that kind of cohort, you've got, debt, private schooling, you've got this, you've got that, you've got all of these moving parts, and then trying to build wealth and stay committed and stay accountable. We've been able to just create a system and a process that kind of enables people to still achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
And so, last year we took off, we took out the Transformation of the Year Award, which essentially kind of validates exactly what I was talking about, transforming people's lives and having a transformative experience.
Right. Yeah.
And then, we were, I think last year in kind of the Golden Globes for Financial Advice, which is what we call the IFA Awards, Independent Financial Advisor Awards. We were nominees in 8 different categories for finalist positions.
Amazing.
So, like again, we don't go out there to kind of get the awards and win the awards, but they're always nice to have. And one of the biggest rewarding things for me as a business owner was last year there was call it the Rising Star of the Year Award.
Yeah.
There was 5 finalists and 4 of my staff members were out of the finalists. There were 4 on there, and funnily enough, my one was the one that didn't win it. So, but I was cheering for them, hoping they won. And I ended up taking out one of the awards, and I remember saying to someone, they're like, "How does it feel?" It's like, I wish I could have donated my award to them.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more fulfilling for me than seeing someone that you've taught and developed grow and thrive into something that's it's greater. And probably the reason why I do what I do and why my business does what it does is helping impart and empower people to have greater lives.
Yeah.
But then doing it with your staff and seeing them, these young guys or young girls that you've got when they're 18 and developing them through. Yeah, that was amazing. So, yeah, there's a lot of awards that we've been nominated for and taken out. But, for us, it's just continuing to make those transformative, impactful experience for our clients.
Yeah, awesome. So you mentioned earlier, you had a background in footy. Do you think that, that team emphasis in your business sort of harks back to your experiences playing team sports?
I take heaps of knowledge and insights from sporting teams, either be the ones that I participate in or the ones that I follow, and apply them into my business.
Yeah.
I follow English Premier League. I'm a Liverpool supporter.
No.
Who do you follow?
United. But we won't talk about them today.
About that. Not over the weekend's result. But anyway, like just seeing, for example, like Jurgen Klopp and the way that he came in and the way that he would just hug his players and you could feel that connection and the ability to, get the most out of his team because they would go through brick walls for him. And when he said that he was leaving, it was like there was this whole downer on the team. So, how can I become a leader like some of those? And if you look at like Pep Guardiola and what he's done in Man City and the like precision and demands. And so I look a lot in regards to sports as a leader for myself. Also look at tactics and strategy and say they might be working on a field. But how do you work that in regards to what you do? And it's very similar. And we always talk about, like, for example, how you got like a goalkeeper who's kind of like the last line of defense. But if the defense doesn't kind of hold up the defense at that point, then the goalkeeper's more under pressure. So then how do you, in your internal processes, then build a similar way? And then how can you be aggressive when you need to be aggressive? So a lot of things, and it's probably me playing sport, I was very much a vocal leader, and actually in local footy, I was more like a tagger. They used to get me to try just get the best guy off, and I was always probably just good with my mouth. But I had a short career, but my father was actually a professional boxer. And so that kind of discipline, consistency was something that I grew up with. And so being able to apply that way of sport, and if you want to be successful, you're doing more push-ups than the other person, or you're you're running a K further than the other person. There was plenty of 1 a.m s. There was plenty of 2 a.m s. You speak to my wife, I've walked around the Coliseum, she's looking at the Coliseum on the phone. You know what I mean? And people are like, you're mad, but I love what I do. And so if you love what you do I see that as an issue? Now, some people listening to this and watching that might go like, you never appreciated the Coliseum. No, I appreciated the Coliseum, but if I needed to make that call to then push the business because the whole 18, 20 team relying on me, I'm not letting them down. If a ball's coming in on the last line of defense and you're going, I'm not going to run to the ball. I'm running to the ball. So, a lot of sport has come in and I continue to learn how great managers, great leaders then apply those techniques in regards to their team to inspire them to be greater.
We'll head into our weekly segment, Moonee Valley Quickfire Faves. So we'll just ask you a few things about what the aspects you like about the Moonee Valley. So did you have a favourite local restaurant?
Favourite local restaurant? I'm going to give House of Fidesz a plug. Absolutely love their Gözleme. I've been to Turkey that many times, and I tell you, I still rate House of Fidesz Gözleme right up there. So the ladies down there do really, really good in regards to that, and that's coming from someone who's married to a Turk with a Turkish mother-in-law. House of Fidesz is my go-to.
So it gets the in-laws tick of approval. It must be pretty good.
100%. Yeah. So for me to you got to think about it. Like this is what I tell people. Like when you've got a Turkish wife who can to take Turkish, and then you go to somewhere and eat Turkish. That's where you eat Turkish. So House of Fidesz. There you go.
Perfect. Did you have a favourite local coffee spot, cafe? Where do you like your coffee from?
Coffee. Not Moonee Valley per se, but there's a local business called Bonacci Coffee that's local out of Tullamarine. And the only issue I have with local coffee is I do like going to Biagio's for a coffee. But we've got a coffee machine at home. Get our local coffee from Tullamarine, and literally he's ruined my coffee because it's so good. I can't have takeaways. I even came here with one of his coffees because he's ruined it for me. But Bonacci Coffee to our friends in Tullamarine. So Bonacci Coffee.
Perfect. Done. Did you have a favourite suburb in Moonee Valley?
I've got to be biased and go, after 35 years, go to East Keilor. Listen, I think they're all good. I think Aberfeldy is the pick of the bunch. Let's put all of our alliances aside. It's pretty hard to kind of go away from that river. But I love East Keilor as well.
Perfect. Favourite local sports club? You can pick a couple if you don't want to offend anyone. That's fine.
No, I think, listen, I've got to go with the East Keilor Footy Club. You know, I was with them for so long. But, you know, there's a lot of sporting clubs that are really, really good and they're doing a lot of really good things. So, but I'll go with East Keilor.
Are you still involved in local footy and stuff in any capacity or?
Not really. I'm involved now more with my sons. They've started to pick up Taekwondo in Airport West. So, you know, get into the martial arts, and I'm actually getting back into boxing as well too. So I think, I don't know, I've got 3 sons, got to get some discipline into these kids. So martial arts will start with but I think they want to play soccer. So Moonee Ponds United, I think is where they want to start. So we'll see how we go.
Nice and close to home, Moonee Ponds United, and another good local club. Favourite place to relax in the area?
Favourite place to relax in the area besides home on the couch? By the river. So like it'd be very often that me and the wife and the kids will just go down the river, just get a picnic blanket or even just go for a walk. So down to Mabradon.
Perfect. And did you have a favourite local event or festival?
Favourite local event or festival? No, it means they need more. They do. They need more. So whoever's in the event space in Moonee Valley, either get onto my email list or I think we need to go more. Listen, I think with young kids, we've kind of been not involved much in the events, in event space, but I think now that you raise it, it'll probably be really good to have someone to kind of event down the river, I reckon.
Well, I think it's something that they've started doing a bit more of. You know, there was a good one at Lincoln Park earlier this year where they had like rogue traders out there and stuff like that, and they've tried to bring back the Moonee Valley Festival the last couple of years. So we've been to
the Centerway one. We've been to the Centerway one. But I think more events the better. Community feel, why not?
That's it. Let's get more of it happening. All right. Well, before we finish up, John, is there anything else? Where can people find out more about Thriving Wealth? Maybe give the podcast another plug. Where can people go to find all these great resources?
I think the first thing to do is check out our website at thrivingwealth.com.au. You'll see us on there. You'll be able to kind of find us quite quickly. Also, make sure you jump onto the podcast as well too, which is Cash Talk. So literally Cash Talk.
Yep.
And there's weekly podcasts in regards to financial education and financial literacy as well too. And I think the other thing is just follow us on social media. So search us on Thriving Wealth and you'll see us come up.
All right, well, thank you for watching another episode of Moonee Valley Voices. It was great to have John on today. Always looking for new guests. So if you're a local business owner, if you coach at the local sports clubs, if you're involved in any local community groups, I'd love to hear from you. Get out and reach out at matt@contenthype.com.au, and we'll see you next week.